What's up, man? Put on some cool lights, hey? Oops. All right. There we go. All right. On a professional operation over here, eh? Professional operation, eh? Something like that. Let's take one of these out. Use one of these. Ooh. Okay. All right. Let's get to it. What's up, Justin? Where is my... There it is. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome in. What is up, guys? Welcome in. So we're starting to put all of the really dark recessed areas in first. So we're going to do. So get those kind of settled in where we want them to be. And then we'll go through and start highlighting the bark. Yeah, I want these real nice and dark, you know? Alright. What's up, Dan? How you doing, buddy? We are doing the test paint and also the color swatches. The final color for the sources we're going to be painting in our painting class today. So if you want to see kind of the behind the scenes, I guess, is what this stream is going to really be showing, is the how I figure out how to do this. You know? I sure am, yep. This is going to be the final scheme, and then I'm going to put together a does that still have wet glue? No, that glue's dry. Ooh, scary. Yeah, so this is going to be the final paint scheme, and this is the one I'll use to build the post on with all the paint we'll be using. So I'm trying to be really methodical on minimizing the amount of paints I'm using as well. So yeah. Welcome in, buddy. How you been? No, I've been kind of absent recently. I apologize for that. Just life, day job, and trying to do right. I'm a lady, you know. It's hard to find time sometimes. What's up, guys? Welcome in. Any tips for beginners? A ton. And thank you for the follow, Warhammer family. Welcome in. So I'm actually doing a test paint right now for the painting class I'm holding at the end of this month. It should be on February 27th. And it's going to be a 3-hour long class where we're going to go over all the basics and we're going to paint this exact model together. Right now I'm just kind of settling in on what paints I'm going to let my friends know they need to have, or alternative paints as well. But yeah, there's a ton of beginner information. What would you like to know first? So like right now, I'm using just a wash to really darken my recesses here. And I've used a Zenithal prime to kind of show me where those recesses are. Kind of makes this step go really, really easy. A lot less work than you think. Oh, thank you for the follow, Justin. Welcome to the party, buddy. So yeah, what we're doing, I guess the biggest tip is to fundamentally change how you think of painting, right? Because whenever people think of painting, they inherently think of kind of Bob Rossian two-dimensional painting, right? As a miniature painter, we're actually just painting raised surfaces and textures. We're not painting detail in, we are painting the texture of detail in. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm not sitting here painting the details here. The details are already represented in the three-dimensional model. What I'm doing is just highlighting those details with colors. So the most important thing as a model painter is your color theory, where and when to use color, how color affects kind of whatever vibe you're going for, whether it's cool or warm or thematic or, you know, whatever you're going for. So very important to know is how to use color appropriately. I feel like not a whole lot of miniature painters talk about that, but that's really a massive core ideal for really good paintings, is how well you administer color. And then on top of that is to not try and force detail, but instead just try and highlight and extend the detail of a model as much as you can by darkening the recesses and increasing the amount of contrast from the highlights to the shadow as much as you can. So yeah, nice, dude. If they don't arrive, well, I'll just delay the class. I want to make sure. I'm not sure how many people are going to be a part of it, but if you don't have your models, dude, or if anything, I'll just do a free little one-on-one sesh where you can watch us do it, and then when your models arrive, I'll make sure that you get the opportunity to paint along with me. So, but I have high hopes. I think they'll arrive on time. You ordered them about 2 weeks ago, right? Oh, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the party, Bright. But yeah, there's like a ton of information in this space. When it comes to model painting, a lot of different tricks and tips and styles, and you know, everyone has kind of their own way of doing things. I teach what I call the lazy way, the easy way, the way I paint, which is, in my opinion, very, very simple, easy to follow tips that you can also use to your benefit. So, because if you watch me paint long enough, you'll realize there's no point where I'm doing something like crazy. Like, it's actually just pretty methodical, I guess. The accuracy with brush is one thing that just kind of comes with time. But I'm not like this Renaissance painter, but I know how to get the effects I want, which is all that really matters. For sure, dude. I'll catch you later. Oh, thanks, Dan. A galaxy? Man, you're too kind. I sure do appreciate it, buddy. But I'll catch you later. Thanks for hanging out for a minute. Sure do appreciate it, dude. I'm heavy-handed on the brush. Just started a couple weeks ago. Okay, something that really helped me with early brush work is don't worry about it. I know that sounds crazy, but get in the habit of just going back and forth. So painting in a way where you can just fix your mistakes rather than just accept that you're going to overpaint, right? Just accept it now. It's going to happen. I do it all the time. I do it every painting. I overpaint, and instead of getting like really stuck in the weeds, I just put it in the part of my process where I'm like, okay, this is where I go and fix my overpaints, right? The other big tip is don't use a super small brush. I know it kind of sounds counterintuitive that you think a smaller brush would give you more accuracy, but it actually does the opposite. It makes it way harder, right? I paint the majority of my painting is actually done by the side of my brush. It's very few times that I'm actually sitting there like painting with the tip. So, and not only is a larger fat belly brush going to hold more paint, that one allows you to do more work between refill, right, from your wet palette or your, your little dropper or whatever you're using. So that reduces time in between, which is massive for saving time. And then the other thing is not allowing your paint to dry on your brush, and that's a big thing. So if you ever see like a cakey model with like a bunch of particulate on it, generally the person is painting with a really small brush, and the small brush just makes it a little bit harder to get more of a consistent paint. Oh, what's up, Bright? Hey, buddy. It's going. And it is a 3D print. Sorry, I just saw your guys' messages. I do apologize. I'm going to call you Noah. Is that okay? How you doing? My friend over on Twitch. It's going well, though. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest tip with getting used to brush control is use a nice fat belly sharp tip. I think this is a number 4 round belly tip, or round belly fine point, I think is what it's called. But that's what I like using. But if you found something that you like using, the best practice is just to use what you know and become the best at it. So if you're already comfortable with a brush, then keep using it. But yeah, my stream's going well. Thanks for asking. How are you doing today? And again, if you guys have any questions on what I'm doing, or any questions on painting or airbrush or miniatures, or I actually hand painted a Magic the Gathering token the other day. Just to work on my freehand. I have a frog deck. So I hand painted that because I didn't like the frog token. But yeah, if you have any questions on painting, let me know. Happy to answer. I'm at your disposal. So yeah, I'm just kind of blocking in this shade right now, trying to get the really dark portions really dark, because I'm going to use a dry brush method. Almost messed up there. I'm going to use a dry brush method. And so I want the recesses already like really dark, right? Because now with the dry brush, I'm going to go through and just hit the very tops of all of these branches. And so I just want this really dark brown / blackish to remain kind of the darkest portions. So, and contrast paints and shades really lend themselves well to a zenithal primer. And that's when you hit the bottom with black and then the top with kind of a gradient of warm gray going to a warm white. And that's what this model already has done, which is super helpful. My friends at Resin Reborn, who supplied this model for me, they took care of the priming for me. So it's part of their service for their 3D prints, which is pretty cool. I do make custom design for the gamers and streamers, like logo, banner, overlay, emotes of YouTuber models. Everything is made to fit your vibe and style. Oh, I appreciate that, but I'm okay, buddy. I kind of just do this as I go, you know? Sure do appreciate the grind, brother. I wish you success. I know my stuff could look a little bit better, but I got more priorities and I'm broke. So I think I'm going to paint, there's a lot of these like vines here. I'm going to paint the vines more viney, I think. But for now, that's just kind of the base coat. Oops. Okay, how do you fix streaks in contrast paint? That's a great question. All right, so contrast paint naturally dries a little too fast, right? Sometimes pre-wetting the area, like so if you're doing like a really big surface, like say a Space Marine pauldron, right? If you pre-wet it and then even just like water down your contrast a hair and then just coat the whole thing and then just leave it alone, right? It'll fall where it needs to fall. If it's being splotchy or it's doing streakiness or anything like that, it's generally because it's drying awkwardly, right? So it's drying in the high portions like a little too soon, and then maybe you touch it, or maybe it's not such an even coat. So it's not like more or less a nice thin layer. So I thin my contrast paints quite a bit and I'll layer them and I get way more control that way. So that's definitely a method I recommend with contrast paints. I also never really paint contrast paints as like the base layer, right? So when I'm blocking in colors, if I'm gonna use a contrast paint, I will use a really, really warm white underneath, and then that'll shade to whatever color I need, whether it's blue, brown, pink, green, whatever the color is. That'll kind of shade it for me. That saves a lot of time. What's up, Sanji? You can definitely fix the streak you've made. The trick to that is painting over it, unfortunately. Like that's probably the fastest way to do it. I would paint over it with a really nice warm white. Like I recommend Wraithbone white, or if you like Vallejo, Elfic Flesh, which is it's basically the same tone. But when I'm talking, let me try and find my Elfic Flesh. It's somewhere around here. I organized all this and then I disorganized it. Let's see. It should be a black cap because it's a new paint. Bop, bop, bop. It is somewhere around here. Sorry, guys. Just 1 second. Where'd it go? Did it fall? That's no good. That's like my favorite paint. Where did I put it? Anyways, like a warm white, and then I would just retry. So that's probably the quickest way to get that fixed. So like, for instance, all of my Death Guard here, our paint was solely, they're just primed with Wraithbone white, Wraithbone from Citadel. And then all of this is contrast paints. Everything but the leeches. So the leeches is a neon paint from Green Stuff. But yeah, all of this started as a warm white. And then that's hand painted OSL as well. So that's how I would fix it, as I would just honestly restart. You'll save way more time than trying to fight back to a smooth gradient, and then just make sure to water them down a little bit. Okay, we're just waiting for that to dry, and then we are going to dry brush. We're gonna do a couple stages of dry brush here. So we're gonna go in with, I'm going with this guy here, and we're gonna put in this grunge brown from Vallejo. So I'm gonna focus on just kind of getting the bark done, because if I overpaint, I can fix it really easy right now, but if I use a contrast paint, then it's a lot harder to repaint the whole section if I accidentally dry brush on it. But if it's white, I can just repaint a little bit of white and done, right? We can move on. But if it's already like painted like a blue and I use a contrast paint and has like an opacity to it or a gradient, it's really hard to match that gradient. So stacking your dry brushing correctly helps a lot in case you over dry brush. So that's another like really important thing is your paint plan, like when you're going to do something, why you're doing it, how you're going to do it. So it's important to think about those things before you start painting. So right now, as you can see, this is very gradual, but what I'm doing is I'm actually bringing this in as the mid-tone, right? So I don't know if you can see kind of how much more warm that is already, but watch how quickly this warms up to more of a mid-tone. Right, so I'm starting backwards. Look how awesome that looks. I love dry brush. It's like instantaneous. It's like my dopamine hit is dry brushing and washing. That's where I derive joy from when it comes to mini painting. So you see how much warmer that section is? Oh, thank you for the follow, Chris. Welcome to the party. So yep, we're just going to go through here and actually kind of use dry brushing as my paintbrush, but specifically for my mid-tone here, just to kind of make this quick and easy, right? It's actually why I like painting organics too. Organic material, so flesh, bark, flowers, teeth, bone, blood, gore, whatever, you know, anything that's organic, it's way easy to paint and get a really cool effect because how the texture is lends itself to imperfection, right? So, and anytime you can stray away from imperfection in your painting, the more realistic it becomes because life is not perfect. As I think we all have learned, it's not perfect. But if you like really clean painting, you know, like I'll be honest, like Space Marines and my Tau, they deserve to be super clean, right? And it's definitely a fun style to paint. I just prefer painting organics because it's super fun, like fur, oh, dragon scale, oh, right? Super fun, super rewarding, instantaneous, you know, always looks good. So yep, just going through here doing mid-tone dry brush. Some of these areas are a little bit wet, so I'm kind of avoiding them and waiting for the paint to kind of settle in a little bit more. The shade I use, the Earth Agrax Earth shade, I believe, is what I used. So while that's drying in some spaces, I'll take extra long to make sure to get a lot of these portions really well painted. So, and what's really nice about just using washes and dry brushing is this doesn't really take any skill, I guess. I guess it's just knowing how to use the technique. But you're watching how fast this is coming together. So, see how much depth is there? From like very minimal amount of work. And especially if you're batch painting, so if you're painting like a whole army, dude, you do not want to get stuck in the weeds with trying to have perfect models. I warn new painters to avoid going above and beyond the Call of Duty with their first model, because however you paint that first one, you got to paint, depending on what model you're playing, a ton. What's up, fat boy? Hey, buddy. How you been? Hope you've been well, my dude. Had a good Valentine's Day, buddy. I helped prop up the economy. Really spoiled my lady this year, Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for the heart me. Sure do appreciate it, dude. Yep, I'm going through that. Yeah. So, and if you're interested in painting this model with me, if you join my Patreon, there is a free painting class we're going to be doing at the end of this month. You just have to get the model, and if it doesn't arrive in time, that's okay. There's going to be repeat classes. So, kind of a new thing I'm figuring out how to do, and I think it'll be really fun. So I'll paint this one-on-one. I'll be holding a little competition with it too. So another rule I like to use is I call it the triangle of lighting. And what I mean by that is this top triangle, right, from the head to the hands, is going to be the brightest point of the model. So I'll naturally let this remain darker. So when I do my highlights, I'll generally just highlight here, maybe do a little bit here, maybe a little here, but the majority of the work is going to be here because that's where you want the eye to go. Yeah, it has been, dude. Sorry, I've been crazy busy. I do apologize for my absence. Everywhere doing everything, trying to make everyone happy is sometimes challenging. But hey, I'm here right now. So I'm even thinking about possibly going through and putting that shade on one more time just to give this a little more darkness here and there. So boom, look at that. Here, we'll do more of a zoom in shot. So that's what we've got so far. Again, just need to kind of darken in here a little bit more. I'll put a little more shade down at the bottom. Before that, we will do, I really need to find my elfic flesh, which I think is somewhere around here, isn't it? Oop, get back on there. This is so weird. Where would it go? And it'll turn up. So, and I'm not going to clean off my dry brush because the moment you wash a dry brush, it's ruined. You can't use it until it's fully dry again. And I've tried a million times to make that not the case, but that's always the case. So I just don't fight it anymore. But what is nice is you can use the dry brush to kind of mix in the new color, which gives you kind of a gradient, which is nice. So with this one, this is kind of my highlight for my wood. So I'm just going to go straight down one direction from where the light is going to be coming from. And this will help reinforce the lighting values that I'm trying to put into this model. And less is more. You don't want to cover up your previous step too much. You do want to make it noticeably brighter, but you don't want to overpower what you've already done. So I'm kind of working on that V right now, right? This triangle here. Brightening that up, giving it more detail. So here we go. We're just being real minimal. Want to find where the model wants to be highlighted and then working on that. Right? Don't want to force it. We just want it to be where it wants to be, nowhere else. All right, try and visualize when you're painting these models, like, what would this model look like in real life? What would be, its lifetime kind of trials and tribulations, Is it in like a forest canopy, like, is this out in the wilderness? Is this out in the daylight? What kind of brightness are we talking for this particular model? Welcome in. What's up, Matt? So now we're going to go even more specific in here with our highlight, specifically on the face. Make sure the face is nice and highlighted. And we are being really gentle, right? We just want it to leave a little bit of paint. Not a lot, just a little bit. And I think I'm going to do this staff as like kind of a blackish gray wood, like an ironwood maybe, like maybe this tree spirit sorceress crafted her staff out of an iron bark of some kind, because that sounds cool. Ironwood, mithril wood or something, All right, so now we're going to step up the gradient just a hair, and I really need to find that. All thick flesh. Let's see, it's somewhere around here. See, I told you it would show up. It was behind my gloss medium. So this is my favorite kind of white, right? And let me explain why. Let me find my other white. This is pure white. This is what I call warm white. Now, warm white with contrast paints, second to none. This takes contrast paints really, really well. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the undertone of warmth. Maybe because this goes on so well. Vallejo's game color is a really good game color. Like, it's a really good paint. So I even just enjoy painting with this anyways. Pure white is really rare in nature. Really, the only pure white you're going to see is snow and when you stare at the sun, right? So if you're into Citadel, the equivalent is Wraithbone. My Wraithbone is slowly dying, but it's pretty much the same color. So what I like using Wraithbone with specifically are my colors that I can gradient up with just white. So I'm talking blues and purples and browns. Reds turn into pink, so you can't do that. Oranges turn into kind of a pastel orange, which works, but I would recommend using yellow. It's better to go from a dark red or even a dark purplish red all the way up to an orange, or orange up to a yellow. It just kind of looks a little bit better, right? So in terms of gradients, blue takes this paint really well. You get a nice baby blue out of it. You can quite literally get away with like 2 different blues in your entire collection. There's like this kind of blue that I would get, and then like this kind of blue, right? You don't really need a whole lot of blues. If you are going to spend a lot of money on paint, get a bunch of different reds. Reds are a pain in the ass, right? Because anytime you put paint or white into red, you just get pink, dog. Like, it sucks. So if you're going to invest in paint, reds, oranges, yellows, greens you can make with yellows and blue. Like, it's really easy to mix a green. I have a bunch of different greens because of my Plague Marines. I wanted like different ones, but yeah. Oh, thank you for the follow, Bryce. Welcome in. Welcome to the party. So now that we have kind of the base, I have what I would call the shade, the preliminary shade in. I have my mid-tone in, and then I did just kind of a quick highlight everywhere, not my final highlight. Now what I'm going to do is, if you can see my wet palette here, this is the kind of that mid-tone highlight I did. I'm going to take a little bit of this just on the dry brush, right? And then I'll grab just a little bit of the white. And then as I dry this off, that's going to mix together. And honestly, I might grab just a little more white. The nice thing about this Elfic Flesh from Vallejo is it kind of goes on, dry brushing wise, it goes on a little transparent. So I'm going to be very specific, right? Because this is kind of my final highlight. So I'm going to really just try and hit where I want the zenith of the sun, or where my light source is hitting, which is going to be basically the tops of all this wood. And the nice thing about how I paint, my particular style I teach, is even if I overdo it with this dry brush, you can just go back in and shade and then just re-highlight, just try again. So I'll honestly be shading this one more time. So I might be a little heavy-handed with this because I really see a couple of these spots where I didn't get enough shade in, but that's totally fine. You can just add it in again. You can do this process as many times as you want. Shade, mid-tone, highlight. Or just shade and highlight, right? I do it a lot. I do it a lot. So, and then I'll do some targeted shading as well, which with targeted shading, I'm going to specifically put more shade like underneath the arms, underneath the chest here, underneath right here in this recess. It's also why I didn't put a whole lot of paint there as well. But yeah, hoping my model shows up in time. If not, I'll be in for the next class for sure, dude. And if you don't make it, again, I'll just set up a whole nother time for the people that weren't able to get their model in time. And thank you. I sure do appreciate it. The class is free for Patreon members for the first class, and then I haven't really gotten to the structure of the next one, so we'll figure it out together. But I promise you, you will enjoy it and learn one or two things at the minimum. So I kind of went over with a list. I'll make sure to invite you to the Patreon, or the Patreon only Discord. But the painting class, to explain exactly all the concepts we're going to go over, it will be primarily, it'll have basics on color theory, tricks to correct mistakes and reduce painting anxiety, terminology and examples of how to add water to make paint a wash, a glaze, a layer, a base, effectively blocking in with neutral tones, correct application of speed/contrast paints, dry brushing with 2 different techniques for either edge highlighting or texture building, when to wash, how to wash, and why we wash, and a couple other things, just to give you kind of a rundown of what we'll be going over. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It should be really fun. And we'll be painting this exact model, and it'll be kind of a one-on-one thing, so I'll be able to answer any questions. We'll be doing it through Zoom, kind of as a professional lecture kind of setting is the vibe I'm going for. So But yeah, I'm really excited about it. It should be really fun. And again, I've only been painting this for about, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes now. So nothing crazy going on here, just hitting the very tops of things here, trying to really brighten up the areas that I find most interesting. And then I'll actually come through one more time with my shade to finish this off. Eventually I will be doing glow effects on this model. All these kind of spiral indentations. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if the camera will play nice. But do you see those spiral indentations? We'll be doing, I'll be showing people how to do the glow effects for that. So yeah, I think that's it for the bark. I'm pretty happy with it. It just needs more shadow, right? So, and I talk a lot about this, but a really good model is painted through the idea, like the actual idea of maximizing the contrast. So trying to push the darkest parts and the brightest parts as far away as you can and make it look nice and blended, right? That is the main goal. Okay, get this dry brush clean. I don't really care about my dry brushes. I buy them bulk makeup brushes off of Amazon. So don't buy expensive dry brushes. Honestly, makeup brushes are the best. They're super chill, super cheap. Sorry about that. My lady just got home. Just had to say hello. But yeah, do not buy nice. I bought like the $18 this thing. Let's see. Well, it was $7. Now I think it's more expensive. This thing is terrible to dry brush. This is the Citadel dry brush. This is awful. Don't use this. It's so hard. Like, it's hard, right? It makes it actually more difficult. And it also scratches paint off. But something like this, whew, look at that. The softness, right? Look at that. Bop, bop, bop. Super cheap too. Like I said, I think I paid like $5 and I have like this big giant bundle of brushes that I can use over and over and over again. And if they go bad, I throw them away and I grab another one out. Life's good, you know? So yeah, we'll go back to the shade. 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 Here we go. Give it a good shake. I might add a little bit of water to this. It's kind of dying on me. So like I said, I'm just going to go back in, and where I want those recesses really dark, I'm going to do kind of a targeted shade here. It's okay if it gets on the brush parts. I'm not too worried about it. Generally, I like to use oil washes. An oil wash on this model would be fantastic. But since this is for the beginner class, oil washes are kind of a, I don't want to say they're an advanced technique, but it is a technique that you don't want to do unless you're pretty knowledgeable of how that paint is going to react with the model. So I also always recommend, if you haven't tried oil washing or just oils on your model, to give it a go. Oil washes are crazy cheap and you get some crazy good effects. So I'm going to be pretty liberal with this application. So I really want it to settle in, kind of blend together all three of my highlight, mid-tone, and my shadow kind of all together. And like I said, I don't really care if this hits where I dry brushed. If I overwash, I'll just highlight again. Takes like 5 seconds. Life's good. Oh, Craig, thank you for the follow. And Tig, appreciate it. Welcome to the party. So, but yeah, it's just doing a little targeted washing. If you can see, I'm kind of very specifically putting it where the natural shadows of the model are going to fall, right? So underneath these roots and kind of in between these recesses, that's where it's going to be the darkest. So I'm being kind of, I wouldn't say I'm being super careful. You can see I'm kind of just slathering in and then kind of blending it out. I'm not too worried about being messy right now. Like I said, if I overwash, not a big deal, right? You can just, you saw how quick and easy it was for me to dry brush these highlights in. I can do that step again. It's not a big deal. So don't be afraid to dry brush, because you can always wash it again. And one of my kind of techniques I teach is to actually highlight before you wash. So I'll block in, I call them the pre-wash highlights, because what it does is it actually allows your wash to kind of not only hit and become kind of a mid-tone that mixes your mid-tone and your highlight to kind of an in-between tone, and do your shadows at the same time. So just a little quick way to save a little time, which helps a ton. Anytime you can save time while model painting is just, that is the way. So right here, this whole section here was pretty ignored, her back. So we're gonna hit that pretty hard with paint. And then we will just kind of go through and darken where I want it a little darker. So life's good. Probably get just a little bit of the back of the head here. And I always recommend, if you're not comfortable painting, to send it and accept that you might make a mistake, because then you get the opportunity to fix it and learn from your mistake, which is the absolute fastest way to get better. A lot of people come in here asking for like instant ways to be amazing. There's no instant way. It literally is just making a ton of mistakes and just struggling. I can help you along the path, but you still gotta walk it, kind of thing, you know? Sorry, wife was talking to me. I'm ready. I'm already in the Patreon and Discord, just waiting game for my miniature. I could have ordered it a little early. Oh, yeah, I know you, dude. I apologize. Well, again, like I said to Dan, if you don't get your mini in time, I'll just postpone it. Not worried about that at all. And if everyone else has it and you don't have it, then you and I will do a little one-on-one tutor, and we'll just do it together, okay? I don't want you to feel any kind of stress with your mini not showing up and losing the opportunity, okay? So, no worries there, brother. I'll make sure you're taken care of. What's up, Tibbs? Tibbs in the house. So with this, I'm going to be really, really careful targeting the face here. I want the face to have a little more shadow. I want it to look ominous, right? So that's what we're doing here. Just being really careful targeting exactly where I want the shadow. So like I said, I generally only paint with the side of my brush. This is one of those moments where I'm going to focus up, take a deep breath, and just hit the center, right? Just hitting the point. So anywhere that looks goofy, like when you see, oop, 1 second. We are working on the final test paint and practice for the model we're going to be painting in the class at the end of the month. So I'm kind of figuring out the ins and outs of it right now, so I can help you guys better be able to paint it. But yeah, if something looks goofy on a model, like if you're looking at it and you're like, that doesn't look right, it generally is because it is either painted a highlight where it should be painted a shadow, or it's a shadow that's painted as a highlight, right? Or however. That's usually what kind of peaks that. We all have that reptile brain inside us that knows when something is off, when it shouldn't be, you know? So if you're feeling that way, generally that's the first place I would go. So we are going to do that. Again, just doing some targeted recess painting here. I want the shadows to look natural, right? So underneath all of this, I want this all darker. So I'm just going to keep layering shadow, right? This is the thing. People think that washes are like one and done. No, 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 no. You layer washes, especially with acrylic paints. You treat them like a glaze. Yep, the color has been chosen. We were doing a brown bark, I believe the blue ghostly skin, with an orange sword, and then pink leaves is what we're going to be doing. So that is the final color scheme. After, and what's funny is I didn't even paint that scheme out of all of my test paints. It's not, I kind of realized that at the end. I was like, that would look really good. And everyone else agreed in the Discord. So that's what we're doing. And again, if I overshadow this, I'll just hit it with dry brush again. Not a big deal. Which I might be doing in a couple spots. We'll see. But I'm trying to really max these shadows in, especially on the underside. So if you can see that, let's see if the camera will play nice. Come on. You're kind of seeing, it's kind of a false representation because of the gloss of the light. But it's actually a lot darker than you think. It's just kind of shiny because it's still wet. But yeah, dude. How you doing, Tibbs? So as I was painting this, I realized I kind of want to do vines here and there. So I'm going to paint in what I want to be a vine with just white, so bringing it back to white. And I'll just use my warm white for this. We will just kind of work through this. So I think this portion on the bark here, we will turn to white. We're not going to go crazy. We're just going to actually paint this white in as if it's a highlight, because when we do the contrast paint, that base layer underneath will treat that as the shadow. So the contrast green that I'll be using will naturally kind of gradient down to what I want it to be. Then we're going to do pink for the leaves, because I like pink. I'm just great, bro, just building my NIDS combat patrol, so I thought have you keep me company. Right on, dude. Dude, the NIDS are rad, buddy. Yeah, boy. Ooh. Yeah, are you doing, oh, you're doing a bunch of termagants, dude? Or termagons, or I think there's two different ones. There's the melee and the range, right? If you're gonna do the Zerg, dude, the rush, the endless wave, you're gonna probably be doing a lot of both, but that's sick, dude. Doing like crab shell or anything fancy, or are you going box art with it? I'm not saying box art isn't fancy. That's also hard, but just don't get burned out, dude. That's a lot. That's a lot of NIDS. swarms. You have to make sure to post that, dude. Are you a part of the Patreon, Tibbs? I apologize. It's hard to remember everyone's Patreon name to their Discord name to their TikTok name. It's brutal. Forgive me. The Gene Stillers. That's sick, dude. The Gene Stillers always looked really cool to me. The lore of it makes me mad as a human, though. Just thinking about those traitors, dude. Those scumbags. It's pretty cool, though. My inner Imperium is screaming. Looks like I am Groot. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. Thank you. Seems like it's coming together then. Except we're going to do kind of pink leaves, I think. Green vines, brown bark, pink leaves. And then blue skin. It's kind of the plan so far. We'll see how it goes. Whoops. And everywhere I overpaint, I'm just going to hit with white, right? Super simple, super easy. Nothing fancy going on here. Just correcting my little oopsies. Like I said, these oopsies are way easier to, like, you always want to paint from the bottom layer up, right? So honestly, I should have painted the blue skin first. But since the bark is the majority of the painting, it's kind of, you either want to paint the lowest surface first or the largest surface. It's kind of hard. Sometimes you want to do one or the other. Depends on the painting. Honestly, the whole concept of the heretics, the emperor, be blessed. Yeah, dude. Dude, I couldn't imagine. Do you know how stressful that would be to be a heretic in that time? Wild. All right, we're going to get out my gray contrast here. My bath. Ow! Boy, that's sharp. That's a testament to Resin Reborn, though. That model should have cracked in half. But it didn't. Yeah, dude. Space Marine 2 was such a good campaign. It's so crazy. I love that you were fighting Thousand Suns and Nids. I just wish that I hope the next one they do, sorry about that. I hope they do, what's it called? Death Guard. Oh, I would have loved to see Death Guard in there. So we're going to do this as like an onyx bark, kind of a blackish gray bark. So also, if you want to make your own contrast paint, you can just get glaze medium and then the paint and then put it in a jar and shake it up. That's really all contrast paint is. So any paint that you're using that's a contrast paint or a speed paint is just a ton of glaze medium or even just like matte medium and then the paint. So if you really like using contrast paints and you're trying to find a specific color of another color, you can just make yourself. Also like glaze medium and just most mediums you can get at like Michael's for like $10 for a giant jar of it. Like this, for example, is gloss medium, right? If I add a ton of water to that and some pigment, I can make like a really shiny goo. I love they made the secret level episode to continue the story. Oh, I know, dude, in the secret level episode. Oh, it's so cool. Dude, the secret level episode is so good. Dude, they're really crushing it lately. Like the Adeptus Astartes guy is about to like release his like project he's been working on. Oof, so good. The Starties project. Titus gets more goated. Yeah, dude. I know, right, dude? It's a good time in Warhammer right now. Bad time in the world. Good time for Warhammer. Okay? Maybe that's a sign. We should all just move towards more of hanging out and playing Warhammer instead of anything else. How bright is this green? I want to use it, but I don't want it to be like overpoweringly bright. It's supposed to be Hexwraith Flame. Miniatures by Jay, what's up? Welcome in, buddy. Let's see, I don't want this to be like super bright and super powerful, so we'll find out what it does. Just do a little test spot. We'll do a test spot right here. Yep, that's too much. That's too much. Good for a highlight, bad for the base. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to go to Plague Bearer's Flesh. Just a solid choice all around. Now that's a green I can get behind, brother. It's perfect mid-tone green because you can really bring up value easily on this one. You can add just a little bit of yellow to the top and you get a nice bright highlight. It's kind of a nice mossy green. Nice healthy green, you know? Here at Patty Paints Minis, we like moss green, okay? Alrighty. Look at that go. I love this green so much. Name a time when you can't use Plague Bearer's Flesh, and I'll name a time when you shouldn't be even painting a model, you know? Just give up, okay? Because it's every model. Should have a little bit of Nurgle green on it, dude. Every model needs a little bit of Papa's love. Of course, I'll go in and give this green kind of a highlight and a shade on the bottom of it to really emphasize its wellness here. Its healthiness of it, I guess you could say. Hit a couple of these ends here. I think I'm also gonna, ooh, you know what sounds cool is giving a little bit of green Nurgle to be praised. Yeah. I'm gonna give the tips of these kind of like horns, kind of a greenish kind of vibe. I like the idea of that. Make it seem like it's freshly grown. Yeah. Just kind of break up a little bit of the brown, right? Give a little, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing, you know? You're green now. Welcome to the club. Like I said, like contrast paint's the best way to use them, in my opinion, is for tinting tinting a shade that you've already painted just a little bit different, right? Give it a little bit of personality. You don't have to use a bunch, just a little bit goes a long way. And it gives it way more personality, you know? Just kind of make this look a little more interesting. A couple different spots. That is all we're doing. Just little touches of green, right? I've got that Chaos Knight Nurgle army on my desk right now. That's all regrowth related. That's sick, dude. That sounds so cool. Yeah, like if I wanted to do I wanted to do a Chaos Knight army, but I wanted it Nurglian. So you're right on the money there, partner. I'm not a big fan of the corn vibe. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. That's not me taking some anti-corn stance. I'm just not crazy for that kind of heavy metal 80s hairband vibe. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. That's just not me, you know? But Nurgle Death Guard. Nurgle Chaos Knights. Now you got me peaked, dude. Jeez. 50-50 fusion on Glotkin parts. Ooh, that's smart. That's smart, dude. I like that. Okay, let's see. What are we doing here now? Should we do a little bit of highlights on the... let's do a little bit of undertone painting on these vines here. Give them a little more depth. So just going on the underside of the vines we just painted. Giving them a little bit of a shadow. Right? It's important to even give these a shadow or else it makes the whole thing look a little cartoony, right? So, and I'll hit the undersides of these kind of horny branches thing, whatever, antler. This is just the same green mixed with just a hair of brown here. Gives it a little bit of a vibe, you know? Using that vibe. And then what we'll do is we will add a little bit of our green. Touch of yellow here. Right? Make a nice bright lime green. That lime green we're just going to use very sparingly to really emphasize these are fresh cut vines here. We'll do it just on the tips here. Oh, a little too much. Let's water this down here. So when I want it to be more subtle, I'll add a little bit of water. I'll dry the brush a little bit. Do you see how much more subtle that is of a color? I just really just want it on the tips. And if anything, I'll add a little bit more of the contrast paint to help blend that in a little bit. See how I'm doing that rather? That helps to kind of transition that in a little bit more instead of forcing it in. You want to be gentle. You want to be gentle. Okay, next thing we're going to do is do one more layer on the staff here of the dark, but this time we're going to do kind of a 2-in-1 paint. We're going to be really specific where we're putting this one. We're just putting it on the underside, right? The underside of the staff. Reason being, I just want this to look like iron bark, but I don't want to dry brush it because I'm lazy. So we're just hitting it where it would be dark. Right? That way we don't have to come back through and dry brush it. So save a little time, save a little step. Boom, done. Okay, now what we're gonna do is the fun stuff. We're gonna go through and we're gonna pinkify. Right. By the way, I just bought this bottle. It's half empty. It's already half empty because I dumped half of it out. More than half. $9 bottle. Gone. Brutal. I literally didn't even use it to paint. I just opened it and slammed it with my big meaty fist like an idiot. So we're really going to heavily water this down, right? Because this is a very strong, like, pinkish magenta. And we're going to be mindful of how we add this on, right? This is going to be all the leafy sections. And if you can believe it, this model's actually almost done. It's one of the last steps here. Add a little bit of this, a little bit of water. Pink is one of those colors that is such a good highlight color. I like it for energy weapons. I like it for little odds and ends, little details here and there. I think it really helps to brighten a model in a fun and interesting way. It's a really cool color. I really like using pink. Really helps to give a model character. It's super easy to paint too. Pink's awesome to paint. If you want to get super technical, you just start with a red undertone. And then you just add white. That's what's really nice about pink too. Pink's one of those colors you can just add white to red. Boom, you have pink. You know? Oop. So I just overpainted. This is what we do. We wet a brush. And we just grab it. We just take it off. Boom, it's already gone. So if you overpaint, if you're quick enough, you can just take it right off. You don't have to try and fight it. Right? So I'm not being super duper careful because honestly I kind of want the pink to blend in, like transition a little bit from the wood, right? So it's not this jarring instantaneous thing. I want it to be natural looking. There we go there. What's really nice is this, these leaves will take dry brushing really, really well. Nice, dude. Finish that gene stealer. How many points did it end up being? Oh yeah. Oops. Just a quick and fast paint. Boom. Okay. Boom. Easy peasy. All right, that's done. Now let's do the skin. We're almost out of here. Just have to lock in here. Any mistake I make now will be a pain in the ass to fix later. I actually want the blue to kind of well up on the sides of the bark. So I want it to almost look like it's emerging from the bark, you know? This is where I actually might break out a small brush so I can be super accurate. But again, I'm okay with paint getting somewhere I don't want it to be. I can just fix it. Sometimes it's easier to fix than to take forever trying to do it perfect the first time, you know? All right, there we go. Not too bad. I did get a little bit on the wood here, but that's okay. We can fix that, no problem. Okay. How long would I take this? I've been painting for about an hour, so we're almost done too. Let's see. I think I'm lying. I think I've been doing this a little bit longer. Well, it's felt like an hour. This has been going on for an hour and a half. That's how long I've been painting this guy. Like if I was gonna go like the whole 9 yards, like do glow effects and everything, probably 2.5 hours. More or less. Where's my orange? Where's my orange contrast out? Okay, so far we've used this one, this one, this one, this one. Where's my orange contrast? Oh, there it is, hiding. But yeah. How you doing, Jocelyn? Good question. How I paint is more technique than anything. It's I mean, if you were here for the full hour and a half, you'd be like, oh yeah, that doesn't seem so hard. It's not. It's just a lot of techniques. When to apply, where to apply, layering. But thank you, I appreciate that. If you're a mini painter, it's definitely something I can show you how to do. May hang out long enough. Just hitting some of these flowers that got missed. So, let's see. I'll show you guys how to fix this really fast. Right, so I'm going to grab my shade where I overpainted. Oh, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the party. Welcome in, Jocelyn. So first thing, putting in a shade to do the recess a little bit there. And then I'm going to grab my airbrush so this will dry faster. That's the thing. That's the thing that would have me there for hours building the color and whatnot. Yeah, it does. Honestly, most of the work happens before I even start painting, which is figuring out the paint plan, what colors to use, all that fun stuff. That's actually what takes the longest. Right now it's a little too dark, so I'm going to go through and start doing final highlights after I do the orange on the weapon. Just getting this all nice and dry. Fair enough. I suck at planning and would just wing it. Yeah, I generally my first model I'll wing, and then after that I'll figure out what I want to do, and then I'll redo it. So honestly, this has been. I did a lot of different paint plans. These were all practice paint plans for this guy. And my Patreon supporters voted on which plan they wanted the most, which is kind of a mix of all of them. So yeah, these are all the different versions it could have been. But yeah, this is for my art class. We're painting this model all together at the end of the month. So this is kind of the test one I'm taking care of. The blue one? Yeah. I like the blue one too, but I like, everyone kind of liked the brown bark more with the blue. So I think my favorite one is honestly the green one with the purple. I like how that one turned out. Each one of those only took me about 45 minutes, just a little quick test paints. So the one thing about this contrast paint is it sometimes takes a couple layers of it to really take its full effect. So we'll just get this first layer on. We'll put it on pretty thick here. Alright, and then while that's drying, we're going to do my highlights for the skin, my blue highlights. So we're going to grab thinner brush, smaller brush, a little more accurate because I don't want to have to do this twice. So I'll grab my blue here, a little bit of white, and we'll do warm white and the blue. This will give me a nice tealish color. And again, I'm going to slowly work this gradient up. Sorry for the millions of questions. For sure. Do you use that type of paint for the whole thing? So for normal, one of my models, I'll generally use oil washes or oil paints. For this, since this is for my class, I'm just strictly sticking to acrylic based, and I use a lot of different contrast paints. I use a lot of different acrylic paints, like right out of the jar. So it just kind of depends on the situation or the application. But yeah. And for these highlights, I'm just kind of following the natural form of the model. Not really doing much else. It's where it naturally wants to highlight. It's where we're going with it. Nothing crazy over here. Yeah, feel free to ask as many questions as you want. I love answering them. That's why I do it. So the trick to holding the brush steady is to actually use your pinky and bracing it against the object. If I was just to hold this, I actually have pretty shaky hands. So I actually kind of lock in my forearm um, against the table, and then I put my pinky on the model itself, and then I kind of clump these three fingers together, and then I just move like this. And that way it gives me a really nice foundation of control. Yeah, very good question. Yeah, so it's a lot of this pinky right here is actually where most of the stability is coming from. And then a little bit of anatomy on this. Kind of know where the collarbone and structures are. Following the shapes of the model less. I want it to have kind of an ethereal look to it, so All right. For the roots, did you layer on different browns or the same one several times? So I used 3 different browns. So I started with my really dark shade brown. Oh, what's up, Al? So I use this really dark shade, and this one's really watery, and so that does the very dark, deep recesses. Then I did this as my mid-tone. This is just most of it, and then I was taking up most of the color. And then for my highlight, it was this color mixed with a little bit of my warm white. Sorry, this color. So yeah, the thinner paint goes right into the recesses, and then everything else is just kind of hand painted on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start doing my final highlights, and I always like to dry brush these in. Or sorry, hand brush these in. Although with this model, I might not. I think I might be dry brushing these in. Thanks for the gift, Al. Just about done with this model. A little bit less than 2 hours. We could do more, but that's kind of the nice thing about this model is there's a lot of growth to be had. That's why it's a perfect model for the first painting class. So if you're interested in painting this model, check out my Patreon and join my Discord. This class will be free. You'll just have to purchase the model and we'll be painting it together. Kind of a online Bob Rossian style. But yeah. Looks pretty cool. Really liked how it turned out. I mainly paint. I play a lot of video games. I like playing Magic. I just painted that's a free hand of a frog token I painted. So, but I generally I paint. I like painting. I 3D print most of my stuff that I usually paint. But yeah. So that is a finished model right there. Well, that is all the time I have for today. So thanks for hanging out with me and asking all them questions, Jocelyn. And if you want to join there's a free Patreon membership, or you can become a full member. But you can join the Discord whether you're free or paid on my Patreon. But thanks for coming and hanging out with me, and I will catch you in the next one. And if you want to paint this model, again, just check out my Patreon and check out the Discord. And we'll be painting this on the end of February. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for hanging.